Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon spoilers video. So over the past couple of days we had a whole bunch of new and exciting cards spoiled from the classic collection, so let's just dive right in and go over them. So first up we have a Program Emergency Halt. So Program Emergency Halt is a pretty interesting card considering it is a white option card, and this time it costs 3 to play, and it has 2 very powerful abilities. Its first ability is its main ability, where your opponent can't use option cards until the end of the opponent's next turn, and then its second ability is coming from its security ability, where your opponent can't use option cards for the turn, then you get to add this card into your hand. So there's just a couple of interesting things to note with this card. The first big thing to note is this does not turn off the opponent's use of option cards in the security. So if you are attacking the opponent after utilizing this ability, then the opponent can still utilize their options in their security. So it doesn't turn that off, but this card does seem like it is trying to stop the opponent from utilizing options more effectively. So what this card seems to me like it's doing, it's trying to stop those decks that are trying to spam or utilize options to their utmost potential. So in decks like Security Control, this is stopping them from utilizing the option cards from their hand to try to remove your Digimon. And in decks like Metal Garudaman, Bellastarmon, Plutomon, and various other decks that just like to utilize options for free or just utilize options in various different ways, this definitely seems like it is halting a lot of those types of decks from utilizing the options. Granted, they could still play the Digimon, but they won't be able to utilize the Digimon's effect to play those options for free or at a reduced cost, and that might be what this card is trying to shore up, is those types of decks that are just trying to spam out the options, and the options that they're mostly using are going to be in the form of removal. So there's just a ton of very powerful removal type options in the game, and in order for an option to be really good and considered to be played, it needs to have a very high level of impact on the overall state of the game, and usually the highest level of impact that an option can have is going to be in 2 forms, either with a combo of some sort, so that way that card in combination with other cards can have a very high level of impact on what you're doing, or it's in the form of removal to just shut down and lock out the opponent from what they're doing by having an answer to their large Digimon that doesn't require your Digimon to do much of anything. So those are the 2 types of options that are primarily getting played, and I definitely think that Program Emergency Halt might see some experimental play depending on how prominent those types of option cards are and the types of decks that are utilizing options are emerging. So the 2 big decks, like I said, to me are going to be in the form of any deck utilizing purple to try to cheat out options for free or Security Control. But this is good, as I mentioned, for shutting down any options, and that can include combo plays, where if you know something is going to be coming based on the type of Digimon that they're playing, then you could preemptively play Program Emergency Halt and stop what they're doing, or attempt to stop what they're doing. So that way you could kind of try to get ahead of them on resources or get ahead of them in the current board state. And that just creates some really interesting play, even though it does seem like this is kind of a hate card for option cards. Option cards are just one of those weird types of cards where they're very hard to utilize in the game, and not all decks are going to be utilizing them to their utmost potential. So it'll be interesting to see where this card fits in the overall meta and how this card actually plans and plays out. Next up, we have Padamon. So this Padamon is a yellow Padamon, and stat-wise, it's doing nothing too special, but it does have a really interesting ability where it's an on-play ability where you get to reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, then add 1 Digimon with Angel, Archangel, or 3 Great Angels from their type among them into your hand, and then place the rest on the bottom. So this is basically just a type digger, and it is following suit similar to what the other Padamon is doing, where it's looking at the top 4. I don't exactly know how they came to that number, but usually on a lot of the other cards, it's just looking at the top 3 or top 5, sometimes at top 1, but it's interesting that Padamon is still continuing the theme of looking at the top 4, but it only makes sense what this card is doing, trying to help you dig it for your angels, archangels, or 3 great angels, because that's primarily what yellow is going to be full of, and depending on the type of deck and the type of cards that you're going to be playing, it definitely can be a really good card to help you dig for your resources, especially since yellow has a whole lot of ways of being able to play their rookies for free. It's just another high value on play rookie that you could consider utilizing, all depending on the type of deck that you're going to be building. So, speaking of archangels, next we have a new version of Magna Angelmon. So, this Magna Angelmon is still yellow, and stat-wise he's doing nothing too special, but he has 2 really decent abilities. His first ability is native to him when he's on the field, where it's a when attacking ability. If you have 3 or more cards in your security, then this Digimon gains plus 4,000 DP until the end of the opponent's next turn. So this is really powerful because it's a level 5 that can swing for essentially 11, and that's just really good, especially since this buff carries over to whatever you're digivolving into, which you'll see with the next card on why that matters and the synergies that it has. But this could just be good for almost any yellow deck if you're just looking to DP boost your Digimon and be able to utilize a really strong Digimon and keep it around for potentially an extra turn, just so the opponent can't necessarily attack into this Digimon. So I definitely think that first ability is really good there, and then on top of which it has an inheritable ability where during your turn once per turn, when a card is added into your security stack, then you get to gain 1 memory. So this basically is just gaining you a memory every time you're going to be healing, and healing is definitely a huge aspect on what yellow is trying to do, and they've definitely been increasing the amount of ways and cards that we have to actually utilize the recovery mechanic. So it definitely makes a card like this a lot more interesting to play because it's making whatever you're utilizing to gain you extra security that much more efficient to be running. Next up, we have a new Seraphimon. So this new Seraphimon is still a yellow level 6, and stat-wise, it's not really doing anything too special, but as I mentioned with Magna Angelmon, this card is designed to be working with that Magna Angelmon because of what the Seraphimon's abilities are. So his first ability is a when digivolving ability, allowing you to recover 1. So pair that up with the Magna Angelmon previously shown, and that Magna Angelmon will be gaining you 1 memory for the act of recovering, and that basically is reducing the Seraphimon's Evo from 4 to 3 because of that 1 memory gain. And that just makes Seraphimon even more powerful. Granted, the Seraphimon is going to be entering the field rested as long as you attacked with the Magna Angelmon, but if you didn't attack with that Magna Angelmon, then it allows you to attack with the Seraphimon, and that's just some really good synergy there. And then on top of which, it also has another ability where during the opponent's turn, while this Digimon is suspended, all of your security Digimon gain plus 5,000 DP. So the whole idea seems like you want to be swinging with the Magna Angelmon into the opponent's security for 11. Hopefully your Magna Angelmon will live, and then you Digivolve into Seraphimon for 4, gain the 1 memory back, so it's like you Digivolved for 3 instead. And then the Seraphimon is going to be a 16k suspended Digimon during the opponent's turn, and the ability to gain 5,000 DP for all of your security Digimon definitely helps you lock out the opponent from wanting to attack into your security. So it's just looking to be a really good card to be playing around with overall, and even without the Magna Angelmon, it's still just a very powerful Digimon to be utilizing, just because the 5,000 DP boost on your security Digimon can be very threatening, and the fact that this Seraphimon has 12,000 DP means it's a rather safe or comfortable swing into the opponent's security with a relatively high chance that he's actually going to be living through the security checks, on top of which you could pair this up with a whole bunch of other cards to increase his DP even further and do various other different things. But who's to say how this card will be utilized and what this card will be going in, but I definitely think it's a really good and interesting card nonetheless. Next up, we have a new version of Hercules Cabooterymon. So this new version of Hercules Cabooterymon is looking to be pretty decent. Stat-wise, he's not really doing anything too special, but he has 2 very strong abilities of his own. So his first ability is during your turn. Once per turn, when one of your Digimon with an Insectoid or Ancient Insectoid deletes one of the opponent's Digimon in battle and it survives, then you get to unsuspend this Digimon. So the really interesting thing about this card is it doesn't necessarily have to be this Digimon that's attacking and surviving the battle. It could be any of your insects or ancient insects, and that's just really, really powerful, especially since green really doesn't have good ways of multi-attacking. So giving green a nice ability to try to multi-attack is definitely really good. Obviously, you could utilize this ability with himself, but it could work with anything you really feel like you can utilize, and that's just really good. On top of which, he also has another ability where during your turn, for each Digimon with Insectoid in its typing in this card's Digivolution source, then this card gets plus 1000 DP. So this card could get plus 3000 DP from the level 3, 4, and 5, so that'll boost him up to 15, on top of which of any other abilities that are gaining him even more DP. So the Digitama could gain him DP, the level 3, the level 4, or the level 5 could also be gaining him DP. So there's just a ton of different things that can make him even stronger. So that way he could hit high numbers very easily, and that's just a really, really powerful thing for this type of card to be playing around with. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the piercing ability natively, so that's the only downside to the card, is he just doesn't have piercing. But if we could have a way to give him piercing, or the fact that we could utilize him and the fact that he's going to have some rather high DP to just swing into the opponent's security, have a support card swing into the opponent's Digimon to try to delete it, so that way this card could also swing again, is just another really powerful line of play you could be thinking about, making him just a pretty solid card to be running overall. Again, I just don't know in the grand scheme of things how good this card is going to be, considering he does, for the most part, kind of need a support card in order to be utilized to his utmost potential, but I definitely like what this card is doing, and I definitely think he's going to be really interesting to be playing around with. Next up, we have a new version of Devimon. So this new version of Devimon, stat-wise, isn't really doing anything too special, but this version of Devimon has two abilities, which is rather rare to see on a level 3 body. So what this card is doing is, its first ability is it has the Retaliation ability. So what the Retaliation ability does is, if this Digimon were to battle another Digimon, then the opposing Digimon is going to be deleted. So that's just really powerful, considering it on a level 3 body, this can delete almost any Digimon it does battle with, which is really good. But it does have the drawback where during your turn, while you do not have a Digimon with Myotismon in its name in play, this Digimon can't attack your opponent's Digimon. So even though you kind of want this card to attack it into the opponent's Digimon, the second ability definitely is keeping it back, but that's probably just because its Retaliation ability is just a really strong ability to be playing around with as a whole, and this is supposed to be working with the Myotismon in the set, and the Myotismon in the set has this nice inheritable ability where it gives the ability for your level 4 or lower Digimon with Retaliation to attack into the opponent's unsuspended Digimon, and then pair that up with the new Venom Myotismon to basically just keep playing your level 4 or lower purple Digimon is just really good, and that's kind of the whole point and synergy of what this card is supposed to be doing. It is a little bit unfortunate that this doesn't really have that much synergy with the Dan Devi support, outside of just having Devimon in its name, but the fact that it is supposed to be working with Myotismon and forming a new control deck, and Myotismon now has a really good level 3 to be interacting with, definitely makes that deck a little bit more viable, and definitely makes it that much more powerful of a deck to consider playing. Next up, we have a new Gokumon. So this new Gokumon really isn't doing anything too special, and it's definitely one of the more bland cards of the set, but what it's doing is basically doing the same thing that the promo Gabumon was doing, where it has the nice playability of being able to trash the bottom Digivolution source off of one of the opponent's Digimon. So this is still pretty good, considering it does have a good amount of synergy and interaction with a lot of the cards that just want to attack the opponent's evolution sources. So this is just really good in that strategy, and the fact that promo Gabumon costs 4 to hard play to get the on-play ability, and this only costs 3, makes this card a lot easier to play than the promo Gabumon, and has all of the same synergies and interactions as the Gabumon, minus the fact that it doesn't have Gabumon in its name. So the only thing you really are losing out on is the potential of a Nokia play, but I definitely think for a slightly more efficient card to be playing, that's totally worth the trade-up. And then the last new card that we got spoiled over the past couple of days is going to be a new version of Garudaman. So this Garudaman is a red level 5, stats aren't really doing anything too special, but it does have a pretty okay inheritable ability of when attacking once per turn. When attacking a player, then you get to gain 1 memory. Red isn't necessarily known for being the most memory efficient, and red also isn't known for having a whole bunch of card draw, so it looks like they're just giving some very generic and basic tools to help shore up some of those weaknesses. And I definitely really like what this is doing. Even though it doesn't necessarily seem like it's super strong or super impactful, it's still just a nice ability to have overall, because who knows when this type of ability will come in handy. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are different ways that you could support me in the channel. So one of those ways is I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so whenever you use that affiliate link to buy cards off of tcgplayer.com, then some of the money will go to supporting me in the channel. And on top of which, I also do stream over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu. So following and subbing is a good way to support me over on that platform as well. And on top of that, I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook. So whenever you buy one of my designs through them, then some of that money will also help go to supporting me in the channel. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.